Tell us about the King of Rugby. He's here. He's here. There's a book. You've written about Lewis Jones. Died today, aged 92.
92.
The Golden Boy, which is a great nickname. Again, we don't have great nicknames anymore. And a key part of Leeds' history, and the young people won't realise this, Leeds didn't win the championship until 1961.
Yep, 70 years it took them.
It's like Warrington-esque in modern parlance.
Well, if there's any hope for Warrington fans, it's that you've got another 15 years. Where to start? I mean, the thing about Lewis Jones's signing in 1952 was it created the same kind of interest that John Gallagher's did when he turned professional in 1991. More probably than Jonathan Davis's did, but you're talking about that level of interest. Lewis Jones was from a place called Gorseinon in South Wales, a bit near to Swansea, and he had a meteoric rise in rugby union. He was, I think, 20 when he played for Wales at Twickenham against England. Within months, he was a British Lion. He'd gone on tour, and he came back and signed for Leeds for a fee of £6,000, which in those days would have bought you 3 houses in Leeds, which is why he was nicknamed the Golden Boy. There's a story of the rush between Leeds and Warrington to get to the village to sign him first, and they both had cars full of suitcases full of money, but it was Leeds that got there. And yes, he was, I think, enigmatic and mercurial would describe him. He had attacking prowess that very few players had. He had a hitch kick, he had a hanging pass, he had an imperceptible swerve and acceleration, but he was the most wonderful goal kicker as well. And until somebody called Kay Sinfield came along, he held all the records for point scoring and goal kicking. Still holds the record in the history of Rugby League for the most number of points scored in a season, which was 56-57. He scored just short of 500 points in a season. The irony being that year Leeds got to Wembley and beat Barrow 9-7, and he missed all 3 kicks at goal. But he became one of only 2 Leeds players to hold a Challenge Cup winners' medal and a Championship medal when they won at Odsal in '61, which again just put him in Leeds folklore, that when you're the captain that brings home what was known as the Holy Grail at the time, then however brilliant you are immortalised. So to people of a generation, he is the best player who ever played for Leeds. There are some memorable moments in certain games that are recalled. The semi-final in '61 when Leeds got to the Championship final was they beat St Helens. And of course the aptness of that is a week on Friday Leeds play St Helens when he's going to be remembered. But that was a game where he gave Alex Murphy the run around, and Leeds scored 2 tries out wide, a lot of which had been down to what he'd done in the middle of the field. Played 15 times for Great Britain, went on tour, so became a double Lion. And then went to Australia after 12 years at Leeds, player coached at a place called Wentworthville, scored another 1,000 points out there for them, won 5 titles with them on the bounce. They were just under what was New South Wales Rugby League, and at the time he was there, we're talking about applying to be part of that. I think it was Penrith who got in instead of them.
No, nothing happened to him.
At a time of Rugby League, I think maybe even Cronulla, at the time of that expansion, Wentworthville, one of the teams, came back to Leeds, became a maths teacher at a girls' school, was always at Headingley for home matches, became a taverner, had a suite named after him. The most modest and unassuming man you could ever meet who had such a reputation, would never believe that he was any good. So when I interviewed him for the update of his book, the book was written, it was the second Rugby League autobiography that was written. It was written in 1959, so he'd won the cup by then, but he hadn't won the championship. So that when we came to sort of revise it, we had the core of the book was what he'd originally written, but we needed to top and tail it with what had happened since. So I sat with him for quite a while. I have known him for quite a while, and we sat there at his favourite place, Horsforth Golf Club, where even to his last few days he used to wander down and have a pint of Guinness for breakfast every day. He was a a low handicap golfer throughout his life, but he lived near the club, and he loved the people there, and they couldn't wait for him to turn up and pull the first Guinness of the day for him. And I kept saying to him, all right, and then 61, you won the championship. What do you remember about that? Oh, that was nothing to do with me. It's like, no, it was. You were the captain. You scored the final try. You lifted the cup. Well, yes, I think we got £32. Well, yeah, but what did it mean to you? He just wanted to play down everything all the time, which to me is the sign of absolute greatness. Much loved. Wonderful character. He came to the shop when we had a book signing about the greats of Leeds, and obviously he was in it. And he came to the shop, and there were a lot of people that were queuing. And he did the usual walks. What are all these people here for? I went, they're here to see you. They want, what do they want to do that for? Well, because like you're famous and brilliant. But no, he was lovely, and he did have a very good innings, but he will be very sadly missed.
I always say at this point, whenever we do these, it's sad that we do them, but it's great because we get to hear stories about people who played in a dim and distant past that we don't hear about too often, which is a shame, and we need to do more of them while they're still around. And we know Leeds will do something.
They will. I mean, again,
appropriate is the word.
Yeah, they're wearing black armbands this Friday because they're away at Lee, but it's a Sky game against St Helens, so I suspect there'll be big tributes, and deservedly so. He was a true. I'm told he was a truly wonderful player. I only had the privilege of seeing a few clips of him. Those that saw him can't speak high enough of him. But I just knew him as a guy who looked the same as he did when he played. He prematurely went bald while he was playing. Why
doesn't that happen these days? He and Bobby Charlton are the other obvious example in sport. You don't see that these days.
The option to travel to Turkey obviously wasn't there.
And without wanting the programme to be dominated by it, the other thing that always used to make me laugh was he was renowned as a smoker, which you can't imagine these days.
So a pint of Guinness every morning, smoking.
Well, smoking at half time of game. So like the stories used to be that if you remember the old Headingley used to come down a concrete ramp at the far side of the north stand because that's where the dressing rooms were, and there are tales of him running out after the half time break still with a cigarette and striking it out on the wall as he was running down the concrete. You don't get those kind of stories anymore.
You don't get those kind of stories anymore. That is true. Thanks, Phil.